Thank you for the enthusiasm. You may be seated. Welcome, everyone. For those of you who do not know me or maybe don't know my name is Eva, and I am a candidate for ordination and I'm being sponsored by the Cathedral and also work with the MANNA community. Yeah, it's really good to be with you today, really good to break open this, I think, just perfect gospel for the day. I was like, oh, this, I mean, it's not easy, but I was like, this is perfect for what we're doing here today, which, in my understanding, for the annual meeting is reflecting on this past year and the ways that we have answered God's call to justice and love, and trying to figure out how we're going to continue doing that as a community this upcoming year and as individuals. So we just heard the gospel, and it's, Jesus is starting his ministry, basically, and calling his first disciples. So I'm sure many of you have, I've read this gospel many times and heard it many times, and as I always say, when I come and preach, each time I read these gospels, it just touches me in a completely different way. And this gospel today, or this week as I've been preparing, the word that just keeps coming to mind is call and leaving. The two words, call and leaving. And I'll share with you a little bit later my own call to ministry and my story. But I had never really read this gospel understanding that Jesus was also in this moment answering his call, because he had been in Nazareth, which is where he grew up with his family. We know that he was, doing carpentry as well as he was growing up. And these are little stories that we hear about Jesus growing up. And in Matthew, in this gospel, it says that when he heard that John had been arrested, that is when he left. Like, it was that moment that he knew that he had to act and move from that place of Nazareth. And I don't know if Nazareth was comfortable for Jesus. I don't know if it was a place of knowing, but I'm assuming, from my experience of what it feels like to leave home, that was a place that he knew and was known. His community knew him there. His parents were there. His people were there. We'll just leave it at that. And he was called to leave from there, and most likely be in a space of not knowing people, a place of discomfort, a place where he was challenged and had to begin his own ministry as he was calling others into ministry. So that was a part of this gospel that I felt just really touched and moved by, and I resonated with it a lot, because as I'm sure all of you have at some point. I remember what it feels like to leave a home or leave a place of knowing people, whether it's for school or because you have to, because it's not safe. Whatever it may be, the new place is a place of, I think, of a lot of discomfort. And in that discomfort, there can be challenge, obviously, into our lives. So that is what I'm wrestling with. And in the midst of all of that, there's a call, right? Jesus is calling and is also being called. He's calling Peter, Simon Peter, Andrew, James, and John, who were going about their day, doing what they knew how to do, also in their comfort, probably with their family. As we know, some of them are brothers, and their father was there as well. And they're called to join Jesus in his ministry, and they just say, yep, cool, let's go. Which maybe there's a saint in this room. We're all saints, but maybe there's a person in this room that had the courage to just say yes when you have felt called by God. I was not one of those people, and so I'll share a little bit of my story of what I experienced when I felt a call. And before I say that, I want to say that we all are called in some way by God. Obviously, we're here, and this is a witness of that we are here today. And all the work that we just heard Dean Amy talking about, the pictures that we saw, I see that as an answer to our many calls in this space and out in the world. But when I first felt a call to ministry, I know a lot of people who become clergy, speak about this, but it's real, it's true, and I'm sure those of us who have different vocations have also felt that. But I was 15, and I was which, now I'm like, wow, I was such a young baby, and I felt that way for sure. I was in North Carolina after like a youth retreat in a chapel in the mountains of North Carolina, and I shared the story a few weeks ago with the MANNA community too. But I was sitting, we had just like sang a song. I was sitting with a community of people that I knew and some who I didn't know, and just deep in my heart, I felt this. I didn't hear God, but I just felt this feeling in my heart of you're being called into this work. You are to be, something. I didn't know what it was at that moment, but you are to do this work. And I got up, like my body just got me up. Everyone was sitting down, and I ran out of the chapel. And I said, well, I'll change the language because I won't say exactly what I said, but I said, oh, heck no, I'm not doing this. And just had this feeling of like, oh gosh, this is not for me. Like, please, not me, Jesus, not me. And was able to calm down and just be like, okay, I'll deal with this later. And for many years throughout high school and college, that call remained, and I, tried to run away from it a lot, tried to do other things, find other things. But God was constant and never made me, I never felt like I was disappointing God for wrestling with that call. I never felt like I was doing something wrong. I just felt, scared, really, I think was the main feeling, which we don't hear, the first disciples and how they were feeling, but I'm sure that there was also some fear and some discomfort, but also a knowing that was what was meant for them. And as I'm standing here and as I've been reflecting and just hearing all of the beautiful things that have been shared today, I was thinking, like, what changed for me? What changed that fear into something else, right? And I think that what that was community. Knowing that I wasn't called to do this work alone, just like, the disciples and Jesus. I'm called to do this work with y'all. I'm called to do this work with my people, and that I'm never alone in this work because we are all called. We're all called by God to love. We're all called by God to do justice. And that work isn't easy, as we know. That work comes at a cost of a lot of things sometimes. Our time, our money, our different talents, our relationships, our comforts. But if I know one thing, or if I've been taught one thing by each person here, and in my time of discernment the past almost 5 years, it's that once again, you can't do it alone, and that's why we're called into community to know God better and to learn about ourselves and know each other better. So yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to leave us. That each of us, like I said, has a call, and I want us to just take just a few minutes to sit with what you might feel like you're being called to do or to be or to hold this upcoming year. It doesn't have to be, about the cathedral. It can be, but where are you feeling called right now? What is pulling at you? Where do you feel like God is calling you to be at this time? And what does that feel like? You don't have to share any of this. This is, for each of you. But what does that feel like? And maybe what do you need from God or from the people around you? I know for me, the feeling of like, was not a no. It was I need more information, or I need more, more comfort or guidance. And sometimes that's what we need. So I invite you to just take a few moments to yourself to just kind of push away all of the, the business and the reflections that we've been doing, and just take some time to be with you and God, and to try to hear, feel where God is in your life right now, where God might be calling you. Yeah. What does that feel like? Is it scary? Is it confusing? Is it exciting? Do you feel like you're just saying yes, like the first disciples, and leaving your nets and walking with God? Amen. Does it not feel that way? Do you need someone to come with you. God of love, we know that you call each of us from the moment that we're born, before we're born, to be love in this world, to work for love, to work for justice, to see you and everyone we meet, and have them see you in us. God of love, we know that answering a call isn't easy, that we can't do it alone and we don't do it alone. That first you called these disciples into community, and then into the work. I ask you to be with each of us and guide us in our individual journeys, in our communal journeys, to give us the strength and love and courage to continue doing your work in this beautiful cathedral, in the streets of Boston, in this country, and beyond. Those moments when we're afraid, because loving is hard and it takes action, to walk with us, God, to remind us that you never leave us, and you place other saints in our path to walk with us as well. I pray for everyone here and for the year to come. In the name of love. Amen.